yet it held Toby's hypration stare. It seemed peering into his being. The ringing in his ears grew louder and louder each second. He stared before it went all black. The next morning he woke up. Toby woke up in his bed. He felt different. He wasn't tired at all. He was constantly woke up. It felt it felt like he had been lying there awake for hours. He had no thoughts flowing through his mind. He sat up slowly and stumbled over the wall. But he stood up. He automatically felt dizzy, stumbled to the doorway and walked downstairs. His parents were sitting on the table. His father was in tune with a small TV and sat to the countertop, and his mother reading the newspaper. She quickly looked over when she felt Toby's presence looming behind her. "Well, good morning, sleepyhead. Have been sleeping forever." She greeted him with a friendly smile. Toby slowly looked over the clock and noticed it was 12:30 p.m. "I made breakfast for you, but it got cold. I was going to wake you, but I felt you needed sleep." Her expression felt happy to worried as her son, has just responded to her. "Are you alright?" Toby stumbled over sat by his father. He felt he was an idol and no control in his actions. He was seeing everything, but it didn't seem to register in his brain properly. He reached out to his father's arms, but his hands ending up slapped. His father turned to him abrupt, pushed his chair with his foot. "Don't touch me, boy!" he yelled. His mother stood up. "All right, knock that off. That was the last thing we need." The days went by. The things continued on as they were. Connie spent most of the rest of the day her time cleaning the house, and her rude husband spent most of his time ordering around. It was how it used to be before the crash. Toby never really left his room. He would sit on his bed and trembled, and his mind would wander, but his thoughts changed fast to be remembered. He would pace around like a small animal in an caged animal and stare out the window. The unhealthy cycle continued. Connie continued pushed around by her husband, being way too submissive to him, and Toby remained his room. Before he could think twice, he began to chew his hands and tearing the flesh off from his fingers. He would gnaw his hands until they bled. When his mother walked on him while he was doing so, she reacted horribly. She rushed downstairs and grabbed the first aid kit around his hands. She demanded that he wouldn't leave her side, and from then, he assaulted himself so much that he grew to hate being around others. His memory grew glitchy as well. He started missing memories of minutes, hours, days, and so on. He would begin talking nonsensely about things completely unrelated to conversation would had. He had go off about seeing things, sharks in his sink as he washed the dishes, hearing crickets on his pillows, and seeing ghosts from the outside bedroom out the window. All nonsense, letting him his counselor's office. His mother grew nauseous about his mental health. She decided it would be good for him and talked to the professional about his feelings. Connie walked Toby about into the building, holding his hand, guiding him in. She was she walked him up onto a front desk and began to talk to the lady who sat behind it. Yes, Mr. Rogers? The lady asked. Yes, that's me. Connie nodded. Well, we're here to see Dr. Oliver. I'm here with Toby Rogers. Yes, right this way. The lady stood up and led them down the long hallway. Toby saw the frame artwork down in the halls were tuned on in turned on in to the sight and sound as lady's high heels on the hard wood floor. She opened the door in a room with the tables and two chairs. If we can get him sit in here for a few minutes, I'll get a doctor. She smiled and held the door open. Toby stumbled the, into the room and sat down at the table. He looked over his mother and the lady before the door slowly shut behind them. He looked around the room before holding his tight bandaged arms and began to bite his bandages to unwrap his hand. But it was interrupted by the door swung open. It was a black lady in a black and white spotted dress with a light blonde hair stepped in and holding a board and with a board and a pin. Toby? She asked with a smile. Toby looked at her and nodded. Nice to meet you, Toby. My name is Dr. Oliver. She put her hand out for Toby and shook, but Hensley pulled away when she noticed Bandage's hands. Oh, she smiled nervously before clearing her throat, said in terms of chair across the table for him. I'm going to ask you a few questions to answer as then and honestly as possible, okay? She placed her clipboard onto the table. Toby nodded slowly in his restrained hands in his lap. How old are you today, Toby? 17. He responded quietly. She wrote the name down on paper. He clicked on it. What is your full name? Toby Aaron Rogers. When's your birthday? April 28th. Who is your immediate family? Toby paused for a minute before answering my question. My mom, my dad, and he stopped. My sister? And oh, I heard your sister, dear. I'm really sorry. Her expression faded into a sad, pity filled look. Toby nodded. Do you remember anything about the crash, Toby? Toby looked away from her, and his mind went blank for a moment. He looked on his lap, and surrounding with a faint ringing sound, his eyes widened and froze his place. Toby, the counselor asked. Toby, are you listening? Toby went a shiver down his spine until froze once again. He looked down over his window and through the door, and where he saw a dark, featureless figure peering at him, staring in wide eyes. Was a ringing grow louder and louder until the loud voice of a counselor broke the trance. Toby! She yelled. Toby jumped in sideways on the down of his chair and backing up in the corner. Dr. Oliver stood up and holding his clipboard for his chest. A surprised look on her face. Toby met her eyes again, and breath hedging as he's twitching. One night, Toby laid his bed, on his eyes dazed, and as he stared at his ceiling, and it dozed off when he heard the scratter the footsteps on his hallways. He sat and looked towards the doorway. His door open wide. There was no light. Is everything lit? Endlessly, as the blue glow of the moon of his window, and leaving the cold lightning. He stood and slowly made his way towards the door. Suddenly, the door, which was previously open, slammed in his face. He gasped and fell back out of his while when he hit the ground, he kept breathing heavily, and his eyes his eyes wide open, waited for a few seconds when he get up on his feet. He reached out and gasped for a cold door handle and bandage, and creaked open. And he looked in the dark hallway, tiptoed out of his room, and the window hallway